Let's continue now with Stephen J.J. Weisman, the Bentley University professor, an attorney in his own right. What is going on here with these motion pictures? Was this a nationally inspired hack job from North Korea?
Yeah, I'm going to go on record as saying it really must have been. You know, we don't have it traced back to Kim Jong-un yet. However, when the movie, the interview, was originally being planned and filmed, the North Korean media and Kim Jong-un were outraged with this, and they were very clear that they did not appreciate this and that they were going to retaliate in some fashion. The kind of sophistication of the hacking that happened at Sony and got sensitive information, as you indicated, and also released movies, some of which haven't even been released yet. So pirated versions are out there on the internet. This is something that would need to be done by a nation state or tremendously sophisticated hackers. And North Korea definitely has this capability. I would frankly even be surprised if they didn't own up to it at some point. But it does show how cyber espionage between nations, China does this to the United States all the time. And it's a real serious problem. This, I think, really just brings it to the forefront about companies being hacked by nation states, and that's being done.
Well, back in this nation, there is a topic that the highest court in the land is going to deal with, and that's so-called First Amendment free speech rights over the internet and using social media. As I understand the case that the court is hearing right now, and Stephen, with your training as an attorney, you can offer amendments to the way I'll lay this case out. But apparently the defendant in this case is saying some of the posts he put up directed at his wife were actually lyrics from Eminem, the rapper. Is reposting of an artist's words enough to charge a person with criminal intent? What happens to free speech rights on the internet with the case now before the Supreme Court?
It's a very complex one, and I am a media law professor. It's one of the things that I do teach. And what we have here is I'm always telling my students the law is always playing catch up when it comes to technology. So here, if he had made these comments to her at her face, that might have been a different thing. But here, when you put this out over the internet, it takes on a life of its own. And there's, what he wants is the law to be changed to be interpreted such that it is the subjective, the intent of the person posting this, rather than how a reasonable person would take this. Now, in this case, yes, he did take some lyrics of Eminem in which he was talking about killing his ex-wife. He also had some other violent type of communications. And so it becomes, was it reasonable for his wife to be in fear? Was this a legitimate threat? And that, I think, is left up to a jury. I don't think it's whatever the Supreme Court comes down with, and I think they're going to keep it as the objective standard, not the subjective standard. I don't think that's going to change art and communications that much. I think this is, we often say in the law, hard cases make bad law, and that's what we have here. This was someone who did put his wife in fear. The circumstances were such, it could be reasonably interpreted to be such, but I think it's not going to have a terribly chilling effect on free speech.
Fair enough. We'll leave it there. Stephen J.J. Weisman, we thank you for your insights and analysis, and when we find out what the court does, we'll probably have you back. Fair enough. And we're coming right back with more here on America's Forum.